Many of you seem to believe that you need an RTX 5090 GPU to play with the Pimax Dream Air, or maybe an RTX 4090, which I have over here. Today, I will prove you that you are wrong. Alright, oh yes, I know, in some cases like the Digital Combat Simulator or Microsoft Flight Simulator, yes, I do agree here. With these VR titles, a low-end GPU just won't give you a proper VR experience that you might expect from high-end VR. But what about casual VR games? Those shooters, 3D platformers, puzzle games, and even some racing titles. I can tell you, and I'll prove it to you, that most of the existing VR games out there are indeed fully playable on a mid-range PC rig together with the Dream Air. Simply see this as a proof of concept. This is a potato, a very dusty potato. Literally a potato PC with an RTX 2080 GPU. It's an ancient MSI GE63 Rider whatever. It has an Intel Core i7-8750H CPU with 6 cores only, boosting up to 4.1 GHz. Wow. It has 16 GB of slow DDR4 memory and again a mobile RTX 2080 graphics card using the latest NVIDIA drivers. There's one small 256 GB SSD for Windows 11, but all games tested were installed on a 1 TB mechanical drive spinning at 7200 RPM. Vroom. This is a PC or a laptop that should be literally banned from running VR long ago. This GPU is far below what both Pimax and most other VR headset manufacturers recommend as a bare minimum. When I'm on Pimax events, I used to say don't go below RTX 4080 for the Dream Air or any other Pimax VR headset. Today, I'm going to install a bunch of Steam VR games on that laptop, connect the Dream Air Lighthouse tracked version, install latest Pimax Play, and I'm not going to tweak any settings at all, except for one. I will put Pimax Play render quality at 0.7 or 70% of the native Dream Air resolution, which normally is 5188 by 4168 pixels per eye. And 70% of that is 3632 by 2916 pixels per eye. Quite a high resolution after all. And yes, this is the current default Dream Air profile, which is running at 110 degrees horizontal field of view, so I'm not going to even bother optimizing by running a smaller field of view, which is of course possible. And I know what you're thinking, but believe me, 70% of the default 1.0 resolution in Pimax Play really looks great on the Dream Air with these Sony micro OLED panels. In fact, it looks better than on any other Pimax headset running that same resolution. Oh, and I almost forgot, all games will run with the default Steam VR OpenXR runtime. To be able to screen record the test, I will connect an HDMI cable from that laptop to an Elgato video capture device on my main PC. This way no resources are lost on the GPU or the CPU while recording. Also, that will be the only video out enabled because mirroring the view to two screens from a laptop would affect performance negatively. So in case you wonder, this is the reason why the laptop screen will stay black during those tests and the recorded screen image is only seen on my main PC inside of OBS Studio. Now, I will do these tests kind of on the fly. Not what I'm used to do, but I'll still do it and I'll comment on the same time in the background. After the game test, I will give you my own thoughts and conclusions. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So let's start off with Lucky's Tale. We're running the resolution you see on the screen, which is Pimax Play render quality at 0.7, which is pretty high resolution. And I must say it looks amazing. It's super sharp. A game like this just looks amazing, even though you lower the resolution like 30%. At the far edges, I can tell there are some jagged edges. I'm going to try to show this through the lens also really quickly to show you what I mean. But other than that, it just looks amazing. And as you can tell, on the frame rate counter, we're up in 90 frames per second. It shows average 86.7, which is pretty amazing. Remember, you can run this headset at 72 Hertz if necessary. Then it's going to be locked 72 for sure. Totally playable, of course. I mean, as you can tell, locked 90 frames per second. I've tried this before and I've seen a couple of CPU spikes when it's loading new scenery. So you're probably going to see that, but other than that, it just looks amazing. It's just so playable. An old game like this, still looking so good. And I have to say it's a lot because of the Dream Air, of course. Wow, this is so beautiful. You have to try it. So anyway, Lucky's Tale on an RTX 2080 laptop. And it runs like a dream. Dream Air. All right, Half-Life Alyx next. Yeah, I mean, we're running around 80 frames per second, which looks fine. It's not completely smooth, of course, but I wonder if a 72 Hz mode could make it completely smooth. We'll see about that. It's the same resolution as before, same settings, nothing has been changed. I just switched the game. So yeah, inside here the frame rate is lower. Outside it's around between 70 and 80, average of 80 around. Now let's jump into another scenario. All right, in here we seem to be running at 90 frames per second. I have to add though that we are running low fidelity mode. So, oh, there we have a CPU spike. So the CPU is just not catching up. As you could see, it just completely froze for a second. But yeah, when it's loading new sceneries, it's the CPU. It's not the GPU actually holding it back, it's the CPU. I need to remind you all that I'm not vouching for running VR with such a low-end GPU. That's not the point of this video. What I'm trying to say here, what I'm trying to prove here, is that it's more or less possible. For games, for casual gaming, like this, and other games I'll try and show you in a second, it's pretty mind-blowing that we can actually do it on a laptop, which is, I don't know, is it like 7 years old or something? Crazy. 110 degrees horizontally. The resolution you see on screen, Dream Air with its fantastic image quality, the pixel density, the blacks. Amazing. On an RTX 2080 laptop. Isn't that crazy? All right, Beat Saber. Not a big fan of this game. As you can see, there was a CPU spike, so we got a frame drop. Other than that, it's running in 90 frames per second. It's the same resolution as before. I haven't changed any setting whatsoever. The in-game settings are default, so I've never messed around with it. Yeah, I mean, it does work, right? It does work. On an RTX 2080 laptop. Oh, okay. Well, my skills are really bad, but this actually proves something, that you really, really do not need a monster PC. Well, I think this was quite a good test. All right, so we are in Skyrim VR now, and the RTX 2080 laptop, we're averaging somewhere in between, well, let's around 50 frames per second as of now. This is the medium setting. Let me check the settings over here. Medium, we don't do any extra super sampling. There is no dynamic resolution. Still have some shadow distance. We could probably lower it down. We have temporal AA. I think it looks better with. It looks a little bit jaggy without. Of course, we gain a lot of performance. If we, for instance, remove temporal AA and add the dynamic resolution, we could probably get it up to like between 70 and 80 frames per second. Yeah, which is totally playable. There are some jagged edges which I don't like really. Not a big fan of those big jagged edges over here. Now if I turn on the temporal AA, it actually helps a lot to remove those jaggies. Now the frame rate drops to around 60 frames per second. But all I'm trying to say here is that it's fully playable. It is actually playable. It's not optimal. I'm not using any smart smoothing. No other tweaks done really. It's the vanilla version of the game. It's no mods. And as you can tell, it's not bad. At least it's around 60 frames per second all the time, sometimes above. Average says 62.4 right now, as you can tell. And remember guys, this is an RTX 2080 laptop, equivalent to something maybe 2070 desktop PC, an ancient laptop which nobody really should use for VR, especially with high-end VR like the Dream Air. So now pistol whip. As you can tell on the screen, 90 frames per second, same resolution, same settings, 110 degrees, horizontal, field of view. Tracking is good, not perfect because I'm sitting down, it's not the most optimal position for, especially with my two base stations, which are both facing from the same side. I don't see really much of jagged edges, just a little bit maybe, but it's still totally playable. Yeah, 90 frames per second basically locked. This is pretty crazy. Let's try one of my good old favorites, Moss. This is a game that really does not require a full frame rate in my opinion, which I think some other games do. Here it's completely fine with a frame rate of around 60 frames per second. Totally playable. Let's see. I mean, I can definitely tell it's not 100% smooth, but it's still super nice looking. It's Dream Air quality, so to say. I see no jagged edges whatsoever. This is an Unreal Engine game, so it has really taken care of any possible jagged edges. Yeah, so another example of a game which you can just completely enjoy on your Dream Air, even on a potato PC or even laptop like this, an RTX 2080 laptop. Now in this game, as you can tell, the graphics card is just completely hammered. It is at 93%, 94% utilization. It's running pretty hot, but we're still getting around 55-60 frames per second, which isn't bad really. And probably going down in the resolution a little bit, let's say 60% resolution in Pimax Play. I think we could potentially reach around 70-75 frames per second on average, which means if we do run 72 Hz mode, we can definitely get this to run smooth. Okay, so we are in Pavlov now, and we are averaging around 65 frames per second on 100% scaling. At 80%, we are actually getting a 90 frames per second frame rate. Still looks very good, not as good as before. We have low anti-aliasing, we have high textures, high effects. There you go, let's apply, and let's just go offline and do a team deathmatch. The resolution looks really good. It's not full resolution, of course, but it still looks really good. Now the frame rate is kind of so-so. It's only 70 Oh, it jumps down. We have some CPU lag, some hiccups. I mean, graphically speaking, it looks really, really good. This looks like Prague. Maybe it is actually. I haven't played Pavlov for a while, so I don't know. But still, it looks amazing and it's sharp. We're running at the same resolution as before on an RTX 2080 laptop, which is pretty insane. Oh, come on. Oh, there we go. I got one guy at least. Two guys. I mean, I wouldn't call this optimal, okay? But it's still totally doable. Although I must say, I think you can get used to this performance and still play this game with a frame rate like this. I wouldn't do that. At least I would probably lock it to 72 Hertz. So those 70, 80 frames per second you see here kind of feel smooth all the time. Whoa! There we go. This isn't an optimal scenario, but it looks gorgeous. And most importantly, we're running this on the RTX 2080 laptop, which is kind of insane. So let's try SUPERHOT. I'm going to try not to move because this is a game like you're not supposed to move, right? When you move, everything else moves. Well, it is playable so far. Hovering between 70 and 80 frames per second, sometimes even 90. I really suck at this, so don't blame me. There we go. I mean, look at this. Right now we are at 90 frames per second. Not when things are moving, but yeah, and then those CPU spikes. You see those CPU spikes going up right now? Every time I shoot, there's like a CPU spike happening. Anyway, kind of playable, especially if I would lower the... I died. Especially if I would lower the resolution a little bit more, I could probably reach or maintain stable frames per second. I keep dying all the time. I'm just so bad at this. I keep dying. Anyway, all between 70 and 90 frames per second isn't really bad for a very old laptop like this. All right, next up, Assetto Corsa. I know I shouldn't be doing this, and I'm only gonna run this with my keyboard right now. But hey, look, first of all, it looks super sharp at this resolution, and it's almost completely smooth. Most of the time it's completely smooth. What is the frame rate? 90, 89, 88. Well, I am shocked. This is pretty amazing. Okay, I do not have post-processing enabled, and I do not have any mods. I know you can make this game look incredibly beautiful with mods and stuff, but still, this actually runs smooth. Okay, so I've added some opponents. Now we're running with 7 or 8 opponents. And you should see that the frame rate is now down to like between 70 and 80. Still not bad. Really not bad, considering it's still an RTX 2080 laptop. We have a lot of opponents in front of us. We're running on high settings in game, but no post-processing. And we are actually touching a very playable frame rate. I mean, it's above 80 right now, so almost 90. Still with plenty of opponents. And yes, I'm running this with a keyboard right now, but it doesn't matter really. My racing skills shouldn't matter in this scenario. Oops. Well, would be good to keep myself on track, but I'll try. Now, if we lose some of those opponents, which we are about to do because of my bad driving skills, you're gonna see that the frame rate will probably get back to around 90 frames per second. Opponents are still there, so it is tanking the GPU a little bit. almost gone. There we go, no opponents, 90 frames per second, almost. I mean, it's pretty amazing that it is possible. So this is going to be the last game I'm trying today on the RTX 2080 laptop, The Curious Tale of the Stolen Pets, a really nice looking game. If you haven't seen it, you gotta try it. So this game is one of those super cute puzzle games. You can rotate each level like this, you can interact with all the stuff here, and it's super fun actually. It's not a very long game, but it's a very fun game to play. And as far as I can tell, the frame rate is often 90 frames per second. Not all the time, it jumps down to 85, 87. Still, it's one of those many VR games which just are so beautiful on the Dream Air. The colors, they're just popping and everything just looks amazing. And I'm running this, as I said, on 70% of the native resolution of Dream Air. On an RTX 2080 laptop, it's cooking over here, right? You see the GPU utilization is like 93 and 94%, but we're still maintaining almost a full frame rate. Between 85 and 90, it's 84.4 on average. Yeah, so this is just one of those games that you never have to worry about performance. Not really, with the Dream Air. And there are probably hundreds or even thousands of games like this, which are just so fun to play. And yeah, all I'm saying is that you don't necessarily need to run, you know, Digital Combat Simulator or a Microsoft Flight Simulator to really enjoy the Dream Air. Because the image here is just fantastic. It's just incredibly fantastic. Okay, so what do you all think? Let me know in the comments down here below. I think this gives us some very interesting results. While running everything from Half-Life Alyx to Assetto Corsa, we actually get a totally acceptable frame rate. And that can get even better after some tweaking and optimizations, which I didn't do for these tests. A few games even ran at mostly solid 90 frames per second frame rate. On an old RTX 2080 laptop, which is equivalent to a desktop 2060 Super, I think, or maybe a desktop RTX 2070. And yes, some games will struggle, while some games won't even be playable on that laptop, especially fast-paced games and shooters that requires a full 90 frames per second frame rate. But my point here is, whatever better GPU you use with these games will of course improve the frame rate from what you've seen here. Let's say an RTX 3070 or an RTX 4060 maybe, a GPU that sounds kind of mid-range these days, but in fact is capable of running majority of the popular VR games with the Dream Air Lighthouse version at either max frame rate or close to max. And then remember, apart from 90 Hz, we also have a 72 Hz mode that caps the frame rate at 72 frames, making it completely smooth if frame rate is maxed out, which is perfect for mid-range PC VR. So, do you really need an RTX 5090 or a 4090 like over here to pair it with the Dream Air? Absolutely not. In fact, you can run a lot of games on a potato like this and still get a Dream Air fidelity, so to say, including OLED black levels, eye tracking, an image with minimum glare and no Mura, perfect colors, 53 ppd pixel density on the micro OLED panels, and all that in a small form factor package. Yeah, there's one more thing, and I know that you're questioning this right now. Will I get the same performance with an RTX 2080 laptop or whatever using the Dream Air slam-tracked version? Well, not really, but that's a comparison that I've saved for another video coming up. I hope I gave you some food for thought in this video, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.